I remember the copper metallic stench hitting me before the sun even crested the ancient oaks, a smell that burned my lungs and tasted like pure betrayal. That was the morning I found Old Man Tiber floating belly up, along with maybe 200 other fish, because some suburban tyrant thought my little slice of heaven was an eyesore. For 3 years, that 20-pound channel catfish, Old Man Tiber, had been my morning routine, coming right up to the dock for his scraps of toast, and now he was just a bloated casualty of war, courtesy of Ilara Vance, president of the Whisperwind Gardens HOA. Ilara had dropped roughly $4,000 worth of industrial algicide into my crystal-clear, spring-fed pond overnight, turning it the sickly, unnatural color of bad Gatorade. I stood there holding that slimy, lifeless body, shaking with a rage I hadn't felt since I left the service. Ready to burn the whole damn subdivision down, and then a truly beautiful, almost holy realization hit me. Ilara's whole fancy subdivision, all 750 oversized, granite countertopped mansions, got their drinking water from the same underground aquifer that feeds my pond. Every drop, every ice cube, every shower. She didn't just murder my fish. She poisoned her entire precious neighborhood, and she had no earthly idea what I was about to do with that piece of information. Ever had neighbors who thought they had the right to destroy your life just because your truck was too old or your fence wasn't wide enough? Tell me where you're watching from and drop your HOA nightmare down below, because this one goes straight to federal court. My name is Silas Boone, retired machinist, lifelong fisherman, and a man who believes in minding his own damn business here in Blackwood County, Georgia. This 12-acre property with its pristine pond has been in my family since 1948, back when this whole place was peach orchards and peace. For 70 years, the mornings were pure quiet. Just the blue heron in the old cypress and the bass jumping at dawn. Then, 10 years ago, the developers came, bought everything around me and built Whisperwind Gardens. Most of the new neighbors were fine, normal people, but then Ilara Vance arrived. Picture this. 40-something, drives a pristine black Mercedes, and talks like every casual conversation is a shareholder meeting. She's the kind of woman who micromanages the air she breathes. Within 6 months, she was HOA president, launching her compliance and refinement initiatives, which is just fancy talk for making everyone miserable until they bow to her little suburban fiefdom. Her opening shot was a certified letter about my unsightly, non-compliant dock structure, demanding I tear down a structure my father and I built back in '85. I called my lawyer, Gus Morales, who nearly choked on his cigar, laughing. "Silas," he said, "property that predates the HOA's charter cannot be retroactively subject to its covenants. Your deed is your shield, my friend, and that shield is made of titanium. When the legal threats failed..." Ilara started the harassment, constant industrial-level landscaping right on my property line at 6 a.m., the diesel fumes and chainsaws mixing with the sweet honeysuckle smell, deliberately trying to ruin my morning fishing. But I kept fishing. Some principles are worth defending, even against a wealthy, bored suburbanite. I had no idea she was crazy enough to try environmental terrorism to win a petty grudge. 2 weeks after the noise harassment failed, Ilara sued me, claiming a recent survey showed my dock encroached exactly 7 inches onto community water rights. 7 inches. The filing fees alone probably cost more than my first car, all over 7 inches of dock space. This woman was committed to destruction. So, while her lawyer was busy filing paperwork, I spent a week down at the dusty Blackwood County Courthouse basement, digging through archaic property transfers and deeds. Sometimes the best revenge isn't money. It's just knowing more than your enemy. And holy hell, did I hit the jackpot? My grandfather, a shrewd old farmer, didn't just buy the land in 1948. He bought exclusive, perpetual water rights to the entire source aquifer that feeds the pond, and which, as it turns out, snakes directly under Ilara's precious development. Legally speaking, every glass of water, every flush toilet in Whisperwind Gardens was using my water. I called Gus Morales with my discovery. After he stopped cackling like a swamp witch, he said, "Silas, you don't have a defense anymore. You've got a tactical nuclear weapon disguised as a property deed. We filed a countersuit, harassment, slander, and abusive legal process, and the timing, well, That was pure poetry. Ilara was hosting one of her pretentious poolside charity events, all white linen and champagne, when the sheriff's deputy walked through her custom iron back gate and served her the papers. 40 conversations stopped cold. Ilara's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she read the documents, the color draining from her face like a stopper had been pulled. "This is harassment!" she shrieked, loud enough to rattle the crystal. "That redneck is trying to intimidate me with frivolous lawsuits." That was the moment the mask slipped, and all her rich, refined neighbors instantly remembered urgent appointments elsewhere. But humiliation only made her more dangerous. The next morning, I found a note. "Stop fishing or face the consequences." I laughed. Cute threats are for children. What she did next was full-blown federal agency weaponization. Within a week, I had more government inspectors crawling over my property than a military base. Fish and Wildlife claiming I was disrupting migratory bird flight patterns, the EPA showing. Up in a hazmat suit to test my private lake usage. Hazards, followed by code. Enforcement and the county health department. All, of course, found absolutely nothing wrong. While Ilara was playing puppet master, I was making friends with the puppets. Turns out, if you're polite to overworked civil servants, they remember who's wasting their time. My secret weapon became Mrs. Periwinkle, a sharp-as-nails retired county clerk who dropped a bombshell over coffee that tasted like justice and stale pastry. The Whisperwind Gardens developer had committed outright fraud, claiming water rights he never owned and violating perpetual preservation clauses for the wetlands. Then I found my smoking gun. Ilara's landscaping crew, the same diesel-belching jerks who had ruined my mornings, were using my lake as their personal dump site, washing grass clippings, hedge trimmings, and fertilizer directly into the federally protected system. I spent 3 Saturdays playing environmental paparazzi, hiding in the oak line, and on the 3rd week I got the shots. High-resolution, GPS-tagged evidence of the dumping. Even sweeter, the landscaping company was 40% owned by Richard Vance, Ilara's husband, a fact the EPA absolutely worshipped when I filed the complaint. That was the sound of Ilara's perfectly controlled world beginning to crack, but she was too far gone to surrender. Then came the metallic copper stench of that algicide at sunrise, the sight of Old Man Tiber floating, and the sudden, chilling realization. She didn't just poison my lake, she contaminated her entire neighborhood's water supply. My blood ran cold when the independent lab results came back. Copper sulfate levels were through the roof. Every house in that pristine subdivision, every ice cube maker, every cup of morning coffee, was now serving up industrial toxins. The woman who spent months complaining about my 7 inches of dock was now staring down the barrel of a federal public health emergency that she created. I called Gus Morales from the parking lot, the sun warming the roof of my truck, my world tilting on its axis. "Gus," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "I don't just own the lake. I own their entire water supply, and Ilara just poisoned it." The silence on the line was thick. "Silas," he finally whispered, "you're sitting on the biggest water rights case this state has ever seen. And she just contaminated your property with a felony." We assembled the team, Dr. Anya Sharma, a hydrologist who confirmed the contamination would reach every well within 6 weeks, and Jonah Klein, an investigative reporter who saw Pulitzer Gold in the headline, HOA Tyrant Poisons Entire Neighborhood's Water in Petty Feud. The beautiful part? Ilara walked right into every trap. The Whisperwind Facebook group was exploding with posts about metallic-tasting water and sick kids, and Ilara, ever the tyrant, went into damage control, claiming it was natural mineral deposits, while secretly trying to bribe the algicide company owner to destroy their service records, a conversation he recorded, turning a misdemeanor into felony obstruction of justice. Then she showed up at my house, Thursday evening, dressed down, carrying a leather briefcase. "Silas," she said, setting the case on my porch railing, opening it to reveal crisp stacks of $100 bills. $150,000 cash. Right here, to drop all legal action and sign a non-disclosure. The air smelled of honeysuckle and rank. Desperation. What Ilara didn't know was that I was wearing a wire. You're offering me money to cover up the fact that you poisoned my lake and contaminated your neighborhood's water supply? I asked, making sure the little recorder taped to my chest caught every syllable. I'm offering you a reasonable settlement to resolve a property dispute, she spat, her face freezing over. A good faith gesture, I repeated. Is that what we're calling attempted bribery now? She snapped the briefcase shut, the sound sharp as a gunshot. You will regret this, Silas. I have connections that will destroy you. She left tire marks on my gravel driveway, her Mercedes spitting stones as she peeled out. Meanwhile, the EPA arrived. They set up their testing equipment, mapped the aquifer, and issued a public health advisory. Avoid drinking tap water. Property values dropped immediately. Ilara's husband moved out, and the HOA board, finally, voted to remove her as president after finding she'd embezzled funds to pay for the algaecide and her personal private investigator. The walls were closing in, but she still didn't know the worst part. I owned the water she poisoned. The final confrontation was inevitable, and it was going to be public. The Blackwood Community Center was packed. TV crews in the back, EPA representatives in the front row, and 300 furious, nervous homeowners. Ilara sat on stage, flawless makeup, but her eyes held the wild, cornered look of an animal about to break. Dr. Sharma presented first, projecting blood-red contamination results onto the screen. Contamination originated from industrial algaecide dumping, she announced, spreading throughout the spring that feeds your wells. Then I walked to the microphone. Most of you know me as the difficult neighbor who wouldn't stop fishing, I began. Ilara Vance spent months trying to drive me out through harassment and environmental terrorism. Ilara shot up. That's slander. Sit down, Mrs. Vance, the deputy ordered, his voice echoing. I held up my grandfather's 1948 deed. This document grants us all water rights, surface and subsurface, to the entire underground spring system in perpetuity. In plain English, I own the water rights to the entire aquifer feeding this subdivision. The developer never purchased these rights. You've been using my water for 15 years. A stunned silence. Then confused shouting erupted. I held up my hand. I'm not here to bankrupt anyone. I'm waiving all back payments, that $30 million you won't owe me. But Ilara Vance poisoned my lake, destroyed 70 years of family heritage, and contaminated water that legally belongs to me, all while your children got sick. Gus stood. Mrs. Vance faces federal environmental destruction charges, state embezzlement, and civil damage charges. We have the video evidence, the recorded bribery attempt, and the documentation of her using HOA funds for personal vendettas. The deputy walked towards the stage. Ilara went ghost white. This is a setup. He poisoned his own lake to frame me. Ma'am, I have an arrest warrant for environmental crimes and obstruction of justice. The room exploded as the deputy cuffed her. You'll all regret this, she shrieked, the last of her refined composure gone, replaced by pure ugly classism. That redneck is manipulating you. 6 months later, I was back on the dock at sunrise, watching native bass fingerlings get released into the pond. The water was clear, the chemical stench replaced by that clean mineral smell. Ilara's assets and HOA insurance paid for the entire $250,000 restoration. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about accountability and community healing. My legal case set precedent. The Whisperwind Gardens HOA implemented real democracy and the twist nobody saw coming. I opened my pond for community fishing. Every Saturday morning, families from the subdivision, the same people Ilara tried to charge to fix the problem she created, now fish from the very dock she tried to tear down. Children's laughter mixes with the bird song, and the place is alive again. Here's what I learned. Never let petty tyrants make you abandon your principles. Document everything, know your rights. Sometimes the best way to defeat your enemy isn't through destruction, it's by building something better, something stronger, from the ashes of their mistakes. Your turn. Have you ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or a property rights bully? What's the most ridiculous thing you had to fight for on your own land? Share your story in the comments. Let's show these tyrants that we, the community, are always stronger than their petty rules. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and protect what's yours.
Welcome to HOA Stories, where inspiration transforms into life strength. These are not just stories. They are your daily dose of spiritual medicine. HOA. HOA. Stories Bowl. We curate their resonant journeys, profound lessons, and extraordinary victories from around the world. Each video is meticulously designed to uplift your spirit, ignite your passion, and provide the most practical insights for your breakthrough development. Whether you are overcoming adversity, pursuing a big dream, or simply need a kind act to restore your faith in life, we are here to affirm. Every challenge contains a lesson, and every limit can be broken. Don't just watch. Take action. Join us in exploring and enriching your life. Today, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to receive a daily source of inspiration and motivation.